I've decided that as a dog training business, what is the fundamental things that Western States is built on, and I feel like that there's really 4 core pillars, if you say, that we've built everything on. And I wrote them down because I can't remember them, because it's just like comes to me as in the truck. But so if we take Western States Canine College and we look at what are the 4 pillars of dog training that we fundamentally teach on, it would be connection, communication, conceivability, and consistency. And so I want to talk about really just introducing those topics on our podcast, and we're going to be talking about them in pretty in-depth. I know we've talked about them all in some way, shape, or form, but I really want to talk about how WS is built on these 4 pillars. And so let's start with connection. And as you think about dog training as it relates to connection, what are the things that we teach, task-oriented things that we teach, or behaviors that we teach as it relates to connection? Melissa?
I think probably the first thing of is offering behaviors, building that connection that we not only have, we're not only asking our dog something, but we're communicating with them, and that we believe like a good connection with your dog is not just demanding stuff of them, but meeting them halfway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I know offering behaviors and kind of taking a step back and watching our dog learn that way builds the connection, and not only for us to our dog, but to our dog to us.
Yeah.
That we're along the ride with them.
Yeah.
And not just bossing them around, which I think is a big part of connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Michelle?
I think connection is actually kind of hard, because I think either you have it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of things that we do to create that.
Yep.
But I also think there's a big part of it that it like happens when picking out a dog
Mm-hmm.
at a shelter, whatever that is. And if you have that connection, or if that dog has it with you first, so I think connection's kind of a hard one. But I think everything we teach in our puppy foundation, our basic stuff, I think all of it is based on connection. Everything from keeping them on a leash for the first few weeks, back tying them somewhere where just to get them to hang out with you. Even crate training, so that they shut their brains down when they're not with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think connection's one of the biggest things we teach all together, but it's not something we really discuss that's what we're doing.
Right. And I think all of these pillars really are kind of built that way. Is there's so much that we teach that falls in each of the categories, but as we teach, our thought process is really on connection and making that connection, because if you have connection, it's much easier than if you have this selfish relationship, I guess is the best way for me to describe it, from selfishness on the dog's part to selfishness on the human part. Shannon, what about you on connection?
I notice a lot in teaching things like back tying or teaching the dog to go to its place, because there's a certain element of that helps the dog recognize that it should watch what you're doing and take cues from you to have its own behavior or its own job that it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I think for a day-to-day life, I notice the building of that the most through doing those kind of tasks, where the dog's supposed to be paying attention to you while you're doing something else, and it gives them a cue to go to their bed or to go to their kennel. Like Michelle trained her dogs to go out of the kitchen when they're cooking in there. All of those kind of things. Because the alternate to that would be the dog's just doing whatever they want all over the house while you're cooking or vacuuming or sitting at your computer. And that's a disconnected relationship.
And I think we find people that just, we're ones that that we have, there's very specific reasons when the toys are down and when they're not down. And so I think that, when we hear somebody have a basket full of toys that the dog they really want the dog to entertain themselves, and they're constantly trying to find toys that the dog will entertain themselves. I think all of us take a hard shift on that piece of it to create that connection and to create that we're the fun, we're the play, we're the one that you should look to play with, not go play with your toys by yourself or go do this by yourself. Is there a time with connection that you feel like that you're asking your dog to go away from you and do something else?
I mean, I guess for me, it's like I'm thinking of the different connections I have with all 4 of my dogs at this point, and they are completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, how I was saying earlier, like getting the right dog in the right house. That was Murphy. We did not have a great connection at first, but like he just naturally did connect eventually more to us
Yeah.
than Prudence ever has, even at 10.
Right.
Which you would not think, being a Cavalier, you'd think you were getting an automatically connected dog.
Right.
But she never really has been. I'm trying to think of it, like, to answer your question, if there's anything I ask them to do that I feel like is connecting with me, but to be away from me. I think the kitchen is actually still a really good example because they still really want to be a part of that, but I want them away from me.
Yeah.
So I taught them to go to their bed, but they're still very much involved in us cooking. Like they're still very close and like they still want to be a part of it. So I'm not asking them to leave my life.
Right.
I'm just asking them to go do something else away from me. But they still can be watching me.
Yep.
I think the crate training is also something you're asking them to go away from you to do. But I really think about time as that should be a settled time, and that should be the time that they're not like
Worried about that they have to pay attention to what you're
with
doing.
you and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that when they are out of their crate, they want to be with you.
Right. Right.
I think maybe just like go outside to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Because with your own dogs, I mean, we go outside a lot with dogs because we're out with all the dogs
Right.
that we're training,
Right.
But with your own dogs, like you just let them outside.
Yep.
And you don't go out with them
Yeah.
a lot of the time unless you're planning to like go sit outside and have a drink or, eat dinner or whatever kind of activities
Yeah.
you do outside. Usually you're out. But I think that's one that where the dog does disconnect from you because then they are entertaining themselves outside because
Right.
you're not there.
Yep. And I think the key piece to all of this that, one, where, with the crate training, that they want to be with you when they're out of their crate. And then when you send them outside, and you open the door and present yourself to their environment, that you expect that they would connect back into you and come over to you, where I've seen a lot of dogs that they could care less if we step outside. They're just on their own journey, and I know that a lot of people find that good and they're having fun in the backyard, but connection is really all about each other, and the dog saying, yay, you're here, what can I do? And you're saying, here I am, let's do something. So I think that's kind of a piece that a lot of people misunderstand, that it still is a true connection, even though we're sending them away from us and go do your own thing for a minute. They're still very aware of you and what you're doing. So Melissa, you went camping this weekend.
Yep.
And talk to me a little bit about, just the overall feel of Right, and that's really when you talk about, you know, friendships and people in your life. It's, you know, you're just because you don't live together doesn't mean that you're not connecting in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's only once a year, even if it's twice a year, even if it's, you know, a phone call once a month, it's still, you still know that that person is aware of you and you're aware of them, but I think, you know, and we don't micromanage them. We're not, you know, hounding them all the time to give me an update what's going on, and, you know, how many times you go to the bathroom, where with the dogs we tend to micromanage that connection so much that the dogs really truly disconnect because they don't have, there's not any purpose to it at all.
I actually have a fairly good story about camping with Prudence this last summer about this. So she's gone deaf, and so this summer was probably the hardest year camping with her we've ever had. And she's getting older, so she really is, like, the older she gets, she's losing connection even more. Like, she really just wants to sleep is really what it is.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's, you know, she still wants to be around us. She just wants to be asleep. So.
Yeah.
But we had one of our friend's daughters came with us, and she really wanted Prudence to sleep with her. Like, she loves cuddling Prudence, so we were like, whatever. I mean, they sleep in their truck anyway, so they don't sleep with us anyway. So
Right.
so we let her take Prudence to bed both nights, and every morning about 8 o'clock, I would get out, and I always take the dogs hiking, and she didn't want to go hiking with me this year, and it actually really hurt my feelings. But that's totally not the point of the story. She really, like, I kept trying to get her to come, and she wanted no part of it. But it was because, and she'd been in our truck obviously 100 times, right?
Right.
She had not been in the back of our, because we have a tent in the back of the truck. She had not been in it at all. We bought it this summer, and she would go smell Brandon out and sit there and cry until he would, like, let her into the truck with him. And I thought it was really fascinating that she was like, okay, like, I got to sleep with that little girl, but now I really want my dad. Like, she really every morning, both mornings, would come back and connect with him in that way. Which she's always had better connection with him than she has with me anyways. But it was really interesting because she's always been kind of our adventurous dog, so but she wanted no part of hiking with me.
She's like, no, I need to do this first.
Yeah,
I need
she
my
just
person.
had to connect with her person first.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was really fascinating that, like, she had not been in the back of the truck with us, so it wasn't like a visual thing she was doing. I really think she must have smelled him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how she would have known he was in there.
Right.
Because she went to bed with that other girl way before we went to bed.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was really fascinating that she still had to come back to him.
Yep. Yeah. Shannon, what about your pack? And you have 3 very different dogs as well. I think you're along the lines of Michelle and your pack.
Diversity.
Yeah.
I notice, like, Louis, I feel like didn't have a choice but to be connected to me because I had him from the exact second he was born.
Right.
And so he doesn't know any other way. I didn't allow him to live any other way than to be connected to me from the minute he was born.
Right.
So he's a very connected dog. Ripley is also a very connected dog, and she has, like, Louis likes to be with you, but he does, like, will go in the other room and go to sleep. Like, he'll go in his kennel and go to sleep.
Right.
If you're, like, watching a movie, he'll go in the other room and go to sleep. He kind of has this, oh, I can do what I want, this is my house, and I'm still here, and I'll still listen for you and run and see what you're doing if you move or whatever.
Right.
Where Ripley is more like, she has to be with you all the time. Like, she wants to go in the bathroom with you and sit on your lap, and, you know, and so she's just, like, wants to be with you all the time, almost to the point where she doesn't want to go outside without you, which I do make her do.
Right.
You know, but so that's different from Louis, where he's, like, more comfortable. Like, oh, well, I know we go outside, and then you're gonna open the door and you're gonna be there. So, you know, that's fine. I can go do my own thing. And then Dutch is really new, and I struggle the most with connection with her, which I think has to do a lot with the way that she was raised before, being outside and being alone all the time, and only being with people when it was time to work.
Right.
So when it's time to work, she's very attentive. Or if I'm asking her to do things, like, you know, come in this room, lie on this bed, go over here, you know, she is 100%. But if I let her outside, she really struggles, like, to if I'm out with her to pay. She doesn't want to sit with me and be with me.
Yeah.
Like if I'm sitting out, you know, enjoying the evening, she's running around, finding the cats, finding the
Right.
birds, looking at bicycles, you know, and the other dogs will look and see, oh yeah, a person running by, but they like more want to sit by me and
Yeah.
be with me.
Yeah.
And she'll come if you call her and stuff, but then she's like, but I have to go away and see
Right.
what's going on. So it's a thing that we're still working on,
Yeah.
you know, with her.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can have different levels of connection
Mhm.
with your dog. With even when your relationship is solid,
Right.
there's still different levels,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I'm still working on stronger with Dutch. But I have kind of a complex question, which is with my friends, and I don't know if people that you guys have talked to, like when you go in homes,
Mhm.
that you meet people that find those elements of connection with the dog annoying to them. Like I have friends that when they come home from work, their dog's like, hello, I want to be with you, and they don't want, that's annoying to them.
Mhm.
Or if the dog wants to go in the bathroom or sits outside the bathroom door, that's annoying to them. Or if they are in the bedroom and the dog wants to come in and sit on the bed with them, they find that annoying.
Right.
So what do you guys think about that?
Melissa.
Me? I have some clients that do find that annoying and elements of that. I usually kind of try to ask them to deconstruct what they find annoying about it. Is it them following you? Are they making sounds? What is that kind of thing? And I explain that their dog is, I kind of put it in a way that their dog's trying to make connection with them. And so what would they rather them do differently to make connection? We're working on right now a dog that wants to sit on her mom's lap when she's working out.
Mhm.
So now she goes, gets her toy. She has a work toy, brings it to her bed, and she stays in a downstay with her toy by her desk. And so that's kind of a compromise. She just wanted the dog outside, but the dog would just
Right.
bark.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let's have your dog connect with you. And so I kind of explained it like that's like me trying to call you every day, and you being like, okay, let's not call, let's text.
Yeah.
And I kind of just explained like they're trying to connect with you. You can put boundaries up, but let's find a way that you're not pushing your dog out of your life
Right. Right.
completely, because then that will transfer to other areas of your relationship with them.
Nice. That's nice. Michelle.
Oh, I sound like a broken record. Here we go, guys. For me, it really, really, like, I really feel like it boils down a lot to finding the right dog and the right home. I know I say this, I think, every podcast. Because, yeah, they all do have different connections. A lab is going to be a lot more connected than like a pointer, even if we're talking about the same sporting breeds.
Right. Right.
They're going to be more obnoxiously in your face. But then you also have to look within, like if you're getting a puppy looking in that litter, because like everybody expects a cavalier to be all over you, and she's not connected
Right.
really. I think she is, but a lot less than my other dogs are.
Yeah.
So I think it starts there. And then it really, I mean, Melissa's right. I think there's a lot of other things you can have your dog doing. Maybe you're not communicating with your dog correctly. They don't know what you're asking. So they're trying to find that information from you. For me, it really boils down to I want my dogs to be with me 24/7. So
Yeah.
it's really hard for me to tell people that, well, guess what? Like, yeah, it's just gonna happen. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like, I don't get a dog if you don't want that.
Yeah.
Or find the right dog, because there are breeds out there that don't want to be in the bathroom with you.
Yeah.
There
But
are.
still have that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so Prudence does not go in the bathroom with us ever. The other two always are in the bathroom.
Right.
They're always in the, like, you
Yeah.
cannot go in that they will freak out if you shut the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
June's not there yet because she's not loose in the house.
Right.
So.
Right. I think on the flip side of that is, you know, people are constantly trying to create connection and wondering why their dog doesn't want to be with them, and wondering why it's, you know, they're struggling with, you know, some of the key things in connection of recall and the dog sticking close to you, but yet we're constantly pushing them, and not like, go away, but we're constantly pushing them onto other things or people. And I even saw it yesterday. Chris and I went up and walked around the art festival in Park City, and I even saw one gentleman, you know, he's trying to kiss his dog, and he's sitting down on the steps and just trying to just get his face in his dog's face, and that dog is looking for everybody else. And so, you know, it's just, there's the flip side of that too, Shannon, of, you know, people want so bad to connect, but they don't do anything to create that connection because they're always trying to get the dog to connect with everybody else and be friendly, and we have to make friends, and so you're not aggressive. Well, dogs are not born aggressive, and they're born social, so connect with your dog.
And I think also on the same lines, and this reminds me of a former client that wanted so badly to be connected with her dog that she was smothering him, and he was going like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And dogs know when you're being fake. They know
Right.
when you're trying too hard, and most of them will shut down when
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
And so I always I actually went to her and I was like, how would you like this? Like, hey, let's go hang out. Let's do this. Hey, come here. And I grabbed her arm and I was like, super clean.
Right.
And I was like, do you like that? No, that's weird. Exactly.
Right.
And she would get so anxious that her dog wasn't connecting.
Mhm.
And she would read into, oh, he doesn't like me. See, look he's telling me he doesn't like me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your dog's just reading your body language. And so, like, if you are struggling with connection or you do want to connect, go sit in a park or sit outside with your dog, just you and your dog on a leash.
Mhm.
Just talk, hang out, pet them, and just kind of try to be alone with them. No distractions. Don't
Yeah.
push them to outside things. Play games, just you and your dog without toys, which is hard for people.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
try to play a game without a toy.
Yeah.
Bring in toys eventually, but start simple. Have a cup of coffee with your dog on a leash next to you. That builds connection.
Right.
But sometimes stop trying so hard.
Yeah.
Shannon, a little bit more to answer your question too. I was thinking about this is like, because I have heard that, oh, I really find it annoying my dog goes to the bathroom with me. I mean, we're going to talk about this in another podcast because, but more consistency. Well, then consistently ask your dog to sit and wait at the door for you.
Right.
Eventually, the dog is going to stop and stand right there and wait for you.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a totally different podcast. Getting into
But no, but just getting, you know,
but even then, I feel
yeah.
like that's still connection. And
Yeah.
the dog gets to go to the door with you and then sit
Right.
and wait for you.
Right.
So they're still waiting for you to come back
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I think on the note with Melissa, and just to wrap up this podcast of our first pillar of connection, we're definitely going to dig into the other pillars, but we're also going to come back and dig deeper into connection also. So there's 10 things in each of our pillars that we'll talk in depth about. But to sum up everything that we're talking about connection, Western State's very, very, very first client over 10 years ago was a German Shepherd, and she was really dog aggressive. And the fascinating thing is she wasn't originally. And so how this dog came into this client's life was she was living, I believe, in Louisiana. I could be wrong, but somewhere Louisiana-ish, Tennessee, something along those lines. And this German Shepherd was roaming the streets, and she was living in a household with a bunch of friends that were all dog lovers, and they kept trying to catch this German Shepherd, and this German Shepherd was having none of it. She wanted to hang around, she wanted to see what was going on, and she always stayed fairly close to these girls and the home, but once you started pushing yourself onto her, she would go hide, she would disappear, and then eventually come back. So my client decided that she would sit outside every day at the same time, and she would read a book and not care if anything happened. Eventually, this German Shepherd came in and laid down and would just be with her in the same vicinity that she could see her, but nowhere close. And I think she said it took 10 books to read, and the German Shepherd actually ended up coming up next to her and hanging with her, and they became friends, and this wonderful connection happened, and then she came into our life is just working through, you know, why the aggression and what changed and what happened and just all the changes in her life. Ultimately we just kind of discovered that it just was not, as her owner's life was changing in a pretty drastic way, of getting married and the husband didn't want the dog in the house, to having a baby, and it just became more and more miserable for the dog, that we ended up rehoming her into a home that was just really kind of all about her, and she had a kind of a different take on life, but her connection was definitely had to be made. It wasn't anything that could be forced. And then when it came to a point where things started changing and the dog was not comfortable with the new connections and things that was happening, that I was happy that the owners recognized that, and that she really wasn't happy, and that we got her into a place that she was, and that she lived the rest of her life out there. But I think connection is so important, and it's not something that can be forced, and it's definitely not something that that also comes natural to a lot of people. And so that relationship with that shepherd and how she ended up getting her was just this unspoken thing that they both had to work at. They both had to figure out how this was going to come about and how they were going to become friends. And so sitting together and just being is probably one of the most valuable things that you can do to create that connection with your dog. So go on this journey with us and listen more for our pillars and what's up next for next week.